The stars over Earth were quiet that night, Commander. Lyra sat alone in the observation deck of the orbital station Horizon Reach, her gaze fixed on the blue planet below. The station hummed softly around her, filled with life and progress. Ships came and went. Lights blinked on screens. But Lyra felt distant from all of it, and from him. Years ago, Kale had stood beside her on this very deck. He had been her best friend, partner in training, her everything. They had shared laughter, long nights watching meteors, and dreams of joining the first human deep space expedition. But then Kale got chosen. The crew of Voyager Dawn needed a human diplomat, someone who could travel to the central systems and speak for Earth. Kale had gone. Lyra had stayed. At first, there were messages, short videos, funny notes, talks about the alien cities he was seeing. But time passed. Kale got busier, and Lyra got quieter. Now 3 years had gone by without a single word. She'd never blamed him. She never sent angry messages. She just stopped sending anything at all. But her heart had never moved on. A soft chime echoed in the quiet room. Junior officer had left the daily reports on her console. Lyra glanced at the screen but didn't care. Her mind wandered back to the last thing Kale had said. "Don't forget me, all right? I'll be back before you know it." He hadn't come back. Her fingers hovered over the communication pad. She could send a message. Just a small one. A simple hello. But what would she even say? "Ah, Kale! It's been 3 years. Remember me?" She sighed and let her hand drop. The station's AI voice spoke calmly. "Commander Lyra, would you like a summary of today's incoming transmissions?" "Only human ones," she replied without thinking. "1. Transmission matches," the AI said. "From Voyager Dawn. Origin. Galactic capital." Lyra froze. She turned slowly toward the screen. The message had no video, just a voice. But it was his voice. "Hey Lyra, I don't even know if this will reach you. Things have been wild here. But I saw Earth on a broadcast today and thought of you. You're probably a big deal officer by now. Just wanted to say I never forgot. Not a single day I miss you. I hope you're okay." The message ended. Her heart beat faster. Her throat felt tight. He remembered. After all this time, he remembered. But what now? She stood up and walked to the large window, stars glittering beyond. The humans had come so far. They'd gone from fighting to flying, from surviving to thriving among alien empires. Earth had once been a silent dot on the edge of space. Now it stood tall, respected, admired, and even feared. Not for its weapons, but for its courage. Lyra smiled softly. Maybe that was the answer. Maybe the most human thing to do. Was to hope. She sat down at the console and began to record. "Hi, Kale. I didn't know how to say this, but thank you for not forgetting me. I've watched Earth change, grow, reach stars I never thought we'd touch. But nothing ever felt right without you here. I don't know where this message will go, or when you'll hear it, but I'm here. I'm still here." She paused, then added one last line. "Come home soon, or send another message. Just don't stop again." She hit send. Outside the window, a small Earth shuttle passed by, its lights glowing like a firefly in space. Hope, she realized, was what made them human, not their strength, not their speed, but their choice to reach out even. When silence felt safer, she didn't know when Kale would reply. But now, distance felt smaller. Kale sat alone in the quiet room aboard the Voyager Dawn. The ship drifted near the galactic capital, surrounded by towering alien spaceports and glittering light rings. Alien diplomats moved in and out of the grand halls, speaking in dozens of languages. But Kale felt far away from all of it. He wasn't lonely. Not exactly. There were people all around him. Kind aliens, smart scientists, important officials. He had become Earth's voice in the galaxy, and most called him Ambassador Kale. But none of that filled the space she had left behind Lyra. He hadn't heard her voice in years. He didn't even know if she still thought about him. At first he had sent her messages, funny stories, updates about the missions, memories of the station where they trained together, but life had moved quickly. Meetings, councils, translations. One missed message became 2, then 10, and after a while, silence. He had wanted to write, he had tried, but each time the words felt weaker. What could he even say? "I'm sorry I forgot you. I hope you're still waiting." No, it felt too late, until this morning. His assistant, a tall feathered diplomat from the Turvathy race, had handed him a small cube and said, "Transmission from Earth. Private. For you." He hadn't expected much, but when he played it and heard Lyra's voice, calm, steady, still with that soft strength, it was like gravity returned to his chest. "Hi, Kale. I've watched Earth change, grow, reach stars I never thought we'd touch. But nothing ever felt right without you here." He had to pause the message just to breathe. She hadn't forgotten him. She had waited. And more than that, she'd still hoped. Even after all this time, he sat at the edge of his bunk, elbows on knees, fingers tangled in his hair. He felt ashamed, guilty, but also something warm, something almost like home. He looked out the window of his cabin. Far below, alien ships danced between enormous towers. Humanity had come so far. They'd arrived here not by war, but by patience, by learning, by adapting. When aliens saw Kale, they saw what humanity stood for: resilience, peace, strength without fear. But what good was all that if he had lost the one person who believed in him from the very beginning? He stood up and opened his console. He began recording. "Lyra, I heard your message. I must have replayed it 5 times, maybe more. I'm sorry. I kept thinking I'd write to you when I had something big to say, something perfect. But all I have is this: I missed you. I still do." He paused, struggling to find the next words. "Sometimes I forget how human I am. I've been surrounded by species with no emotions, no pasts, no Earth stories. But hearing you again reminded me of who I was, who I am." Kale walked over to the window and looked out again. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel so far away. "I don't know if I can come home yet, but I want to. And if I can't, maybe you can visit, or maybe we can just talk again, little at a time, if you'll let me." He ended the message and hit send. Then he sat back down, breathing slowly. The stars were the same everywhere, he realized. Whether near Earth or deep in alien space, they still shined with quiet fire. That was humanity's gift, the ability to keep burning, even when separated by light years. Kale closed his eyes and whispered, "She waited for me. I won't make her wait again," sighed. Earth's flag glowed faintly on the hull of the Voyager Dawn, a symbol of a species that refused to be forgotten. Kale smiled. Hope, he thought, is what makes us more than explorers. It makes us human. Lyra sat in her room aboard Horizon Reach, watching the stars move slowly across the wide window. Her hand rested on her chest, right where her heart felt too full. On her screen, Kale's voice still echoed in her mind. "I missed you, still. Maybe we can just talk again, a little at a time, if you'll let me." She had listened to it 3 times, then 5, then more. Her eyes stung, not from sadness, but from something warmer, something she hadn't felt in a long time. She was remembered, missed, wanted. After all those silent nights, all those empty mornings, Kale had still thought of her, Lyra. Leaned back in her chair, soft knock came at her door. It was Commander Ellen, her senior officer, and an old friend. "You've been quiet today," he said gently. "Something on your mind?" Lyra hesitated, then she nodded. "I heard from Kale. After all this time," Ellen smiled kindly. "Always believed he'd come back around. He wants to reconnect," she said softly. "But he's still out there, still in the galactic capital. He can't come home yet." Ellen sat across from her, arms folded. "So the question is, do you stay here, or do you go to him?" Words hit Lyra harder than she expected. She looked around her room, clean, organized, familiar. Her uniform, her medals, her life. This station was home, but home didn't feel the same without Kale in it. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do," she whispered. I worked so hard to rise through the ranks, to prove myself. But now that he's reached out again, I want us to see him, to talk to him without a screen between us." Ellen leaned forward. "You've served Earth with honor. Everyone knows your name. But being human means more than wearing a uniform. It's about following your heart, even when it's hard." Lyra stared at the stars. Earth had always taught its people to reach. Not just for planets, but for each other. She thought back to when she and Kale first trained together. How they used to dream of going beyond the stars. How they promised to never forget where they came from, more who mattered most. Maybe this wasn't about distance anymore. Maybe it was about courage. Later that evening, Lyra stood before the communications deck. She opened a secure channel and recorded her reply. "Kale, I got your message. I wasn't sure I'd hear your voice again, but now I have. And now I can't stop thinking. Maybe it's time I stop waiting. Maybe it's time I come to you." She smiled softly. "I've spent years watching Earth grow stronger. We've built stations, colonies, friendships across space. But what makes us special has always been our heart. Our ability to love, to forgive, to hope." She took a deep breath. "I'm requesting a long-term assignment to the Galactic capital. I'll be there soon, if the stars allow. I want to see you, not just to remember, but to begin again." She sent the message. For the first time in years, Lyra didn't feel stuck. She felt free. A few days later, her request was approved. Earth's command trusted her. She would become a liaison to the human diplomatic team near the alien core systems. It wasn't just about Kale. It was about being part of something bigger, a bridge between hearts and worlds. As her shuttle pulled away from horizon reach, Lyra looked back once. The station grew smaller, and the stars ahead grew brighter. She smiled, her heart steady. Hope was alive. Love was possible. Humanity, once just a species stuck on one small planet, was learning to reach not just outward, but toward each other, no matter the distance. Kale sat at the window of the Voyager Dawn, watching the stars blur past as the ship sped toward the galactic capital. The message from Lyra had come like a bright light in the long darkness of space. She was coming. He could hardly believe it. After years of silence and distance, she was finally making the journey to him. His heart raced not from fear, but from hope. Kale stood and paced the small room. The galaxy outside was vast, full of strange and beautiful things. But no matter how far he traveled or how many alien worlds he visited, his thoughts always returned to one place, Lyra. He pulled up her message again. "I'm requesting a long-term assignment to the galactic capital. I'll be there soon, if the stars allow. I want to see you, not just to remember, but to begin again." The words echoed inside him. They spoke of hope, of trust, of a future. Waiting to be written, he smiled. Kale began preparing, not just for official meetings or diplomatic events, but for something more important. The chance to reconnect with someone who had never stopped believing in him. He thought about all the lessons Earth had taught humanity, how people there faced hardship and conflict, yet always chose to stand back up, to reach out, to hope. That spirit was alive in Lyra, in him, and in all who carried Earth's name across the stars. He sent a quick message to his team, requesting privacy and a calm schedule when Lyra arrived. Then he sat down and opened a small box on his desk, gift he had saved for her. It was a simple pendant, made of earth crystal, shining with blue and green light. Kale traced the shape with his fingers and whispered, "For you, Lyra, for when you arrive." Days passed, and finally the news came. Lyra's ship was approaching. The galactic capital. Kale felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Would she still be the same? Would the years apart have changed everything? But deep down, he knew the answer. Humanity had survived worse. They had crossed oceans, faced darkness, and still found light. This reunion was just another journey, not of space, but of the heart. When Lyra's shuttle docked, Kale waited at the airlock. The door hissed open. There she was, stronger than ever. With eyes full of hope and a smile that reached her soul, They stood silent for a moment. No words were needed. Then Kale stepped forward. Holding out the crystal pendant, Lyra accepted it, her fingers brushing his. "Thank you," she said softly, "for waiting, for believing." He shook his head. "Thank you for coming, for giving us a chance." Together, they walked into the ship's quiet corridors, ready to build new memories. Outside, the stars kept shining, and Earth far below smiled quietly, proud of its children who never gave up on each other, no matter the distance. Lyra and Kale spent their first days together aboard the Voyager Dawn, slowly finding their way back to each other. It was not easy. Years of distance had built walls between them, walls of silence, doubt, and missed chances. But both wanted to break those walls down. One afternoon, they sat in the ship's common room, the soft hum of the engines surrounding them. The stars outside shone brightly, reminders of the vast universe they belonged to. Kale looked at Lyra and smiled gently. "I never stopped thinking about you," he said. "Even when the messages stopped, you were always there in my mind."
Lyra
nodded. "I felt the same. But sometimes I was scared. Scared that the distance was too big, that we had changed." Kale reached out and took her hand. "We are different now, but that doesn't mean we can't start again." They talked for hours, sharing stories of their journeys, their struggles, and their hopes. Kale spoke of the alien worlds he had seen and the friends he had made. Lyra told of the challenges of leadership and the loneliness of waiting. Through their words, the gap between them began to close. The crew of the Voyager Dawn watched quietly, seeing the two humans rebuild something precious. They saw how humanity's strength was not just in technology or power, but in the courage to hope and reconnect. One evening, as the ship drifted near a bright star, Kale invited Lyra to the observation deck. The view was breathtaking, a sea of stars stretching endlessly, glowing softly like candles in the dark. Kale spoke softly. "We came from a small planet, but our spirit is big. We survive, we grow, and we find each other again." Lyra smiled. "That's what makes us human." They stood together, hands touching lightly, sharing the quiet strength that had always lived inside them. In that moment, they understood that distance was just a test. It's a test of their hope, their patience, and their faith in each other. The future was still uncertain. There would be challenges ahead, but they were ready to face them together. Humanity had always been about reaching for the stars. But now, Lyra and Kale knew that the greatest journey was the one between hearts. The Voyager Dawn sailed through the calm darkness of space, carrying Lyra and Kale toward new horizons. The tension of past distance had melted into quiet hope and trust. One morning, Lyra woke early and looked out the large window. Below, distant stars sparkled like jewels. The vastness of space felt less lonely now. Kale joined her silently, his eyes reflecting the same wonder. "We're not so far apart anymore," he said softly. Lyra smiled. "No, and I think we never really were." Their journey was more than a mission. It was a promise. A promise that no matter the miles or years, humanity's strength lay in its heart. They were proof that even when separated, people could find their way back. Days passed, filled with talks, laughter, and plans. They shared dreams not only for themselves, but for Earth and all who called it home. Kale showed Lyra new data about alien cultures. Lyra shared strategies to help Earth's diplomats grow stronger. Together, they worked to build bridges not just between them, but between worlds. One evening, as the ship's soft lights glowed, Lyra spoke with quiet pride. "Humans don't give up. Fall, we break, but we always stand again. This is what makes us who we are." Kale nodded. "We carry Earth inside us, its hope, its fight, its kindness. That is our true power." They looked at each other, knowing the future was bright. It was uncertain, yes, but filled with possibilities. As the Voyager Dawn moved closer to the galactic capital, they prepared for the challenges ahead. But this time, they would face them together. Their story was not just about two people reuniting. was about humanity's endless hope, its will to connect, to heal, and to grow stronger, no matter the distance. And as stars passed by outside their window, Lyra and Kale felt one thing clearly. This was just the beginning.